Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. The purple mist shrank like crazy, and a thick layer of purple gas formed around its edge. No matter how hard the disciples of the Lou sword sect tried, they couldn't break through the purple gas. The purple gas seemed to have corrosive properties, so they looked dispirited and irritated. One of the Dalu sword sect disciples even used Ling Tianhou's sword energy, but it had no effect. It was quickly absorbed by the purple gas. Chen Long's expression changed greatly. He turned towards Wang Lin, who was backing off, and urgently shouted, "Brother Wang, right now we are facing a crisis. Can your friend help?" Wang Lin, this old man originally didn't want to kill you so early, but since you ran head first into this matter, no one can save you. Greed's voice slowly entered the purple mist. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't speak, but quickly retreated. At this moment, the purple mist was rapidly contracting. If he retreated too slowly and was invaded by the purple gas, there might be other dangers. The Dalu sword sect disciples also quickly retreated, and Chen Long urgently shouted, "Fellow cultivator Wang!" "Fellow cultivator Chen Long, I don't even have the ability to save myself, so please don't mention this matter." Wang Lin shook his head and immediately disappeared into the purple mist. Zhou cellular sword circled around his body. "You!" Chen Long's expression was gloomy, and he let out a sigh. The Heavenly Fate sect and the Dalu sword sect were like fire and water. He understood why Wang Lin refused to help. "I'm to blame for hesitating so much. If I had decided earlier to rebel against greed, we wouldn't have ended up like this if we used Master Sword energy." There was regret in Chen Long's eyes. However, Greed was a senior from his master's generation, so he knew of their sword energy. He understood that even if they used their master's sword energy, he was afraid Greed would already be prepared for it. As a result, victory was not certain. Also, it was very likely that all of his junior apprentice brothers would die. He wasn't willing to pay such a price for his suspicion, so that is why he couldn't be decisive and had waited a century. At this moment, the purple mist shrank rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it became 10 times smaller than before. As the purple mist shrank, the purple gas at the edge became even stronger. The people of the Dalu sword sect constantly retreated. "Wang Lin, if we don't dive, it will be hard to rush out even with my abilities." Zhou's anxious voice echoed in Wang Lin's mind. "Wait a bit more." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He was still inside the mist. As he looked at the Dalu sword sect disciples in the distance, his eyes became cold. 5 people, 4 rays of Ling Tianhou's sword energy, 5 bezured swords. Wang Lin's eyes became even colder. Chen Long's eyes revealed sadness as he looked at his junior apprentice brothers beside him. He closed his eyes. Then he suddenly opened them, and his eyes contained a rare hint of decisiveness. "Fellow junior apprentice brothers, I'm sorry. I'm really useless." Chen Long clenched his teeth and quickly pointed between his brow. A ray of light immediately appeared between his brow. This ray of light turned into sword energy. This was Ling Tianhou's sword energy, but it was several times stronger than the ones Wang Lin had seen. It was on a completely different level compared to the others. This sword energy was formed when Ling Tianhou refined the 4 small worlds into the 4 swords. It was one of his life sword energies that he refined inside his soul. The 11 strands of sword energy that he gave the other disciples were things he created by simply waving his hand. The difference was too big. It was because he had this sword energy that he regretted he wasn't decisive enough to act sooner. The moment the sword energy appeared, the shrinking purple mist slowed for a moment. Outside, Greed's eyes turned cold. He quickly noticed that there was something not right about this Chen Long, and he had guessed correctly. Chen Long let out a sigh. Then the sword energy surrounded his body, and he rushed directly at the purple gas. And at the moment he collided with the purple gas, there was a loud sound, as if there was intense friction. It looked like there was fire around Qianlong. In the end, a small opening appeared in the purple mist, and Qianlong charged out with the sword energy. It wasn't that he didn't want to take his junior apprentice brothers with him, but he calculated that if he took even one, he wouldn't be able to break through. At the moment Qianlong charged out, the purple mist immediately condensed even more. The purple mist was so dense that one couldn't see inside it anymore. Not even sound could escape the mist at this point. The four Lou sword sect disciples' eyes were filled with despair. Uma let out an angry roar. "Three junior apprentice brothers, since things are already like this, why despair? I know that Wang Lin is still in here. Help me kill this man so I have no regrets." After he said that, the other three Dalu sword sect disciples released killing interest. Indeed, if they were going to die, they might as well kill that heavenly fate sect person. If it wasn't for that person appearing, they might have had a chance to survive. "Wang Lin, you still aren't going out. What are you waiting for?" Joey was already roaring in Wang Lin's mind. "Senior, help me lock onto the other four with your sword divine sense." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he moved like lightning. In the purple mist, where divine sense was obstructed, he was like a ghost. "Wang Lin, in 10 breaths, even if you resist, I'm taking you outside." After Joey sent this message, he spread out his sword divine sense through the purple mist and locked on to the 4 people of the Lu sword sect. Wang Lin moved like lightning towards one of them. This person had the lowest cultivation among the 4, only mid-stage soul transformation. His divine sense was useless in the purple mist, as if he was blind and deaf in this situation. The moment Wang Lin closed in, he only felt a breeze. However, this breeze quickly became cold, and it left with his head. Wang Lin held the head with the sword energy locked inside, and after putting away the Bejured sword, he charged towards the next target. Sisei controlled his Bejured sword, but he was frustrated, and his eyes contained despair. He opened his eyes wide, but he could only see 7 feet in front of him. Everything after that was just purple mist. His eyes suddenly blurred, as if he had seen a figure flash before him. "Who?" Sisei's heart trembled, and he immediately threw his sword into the mist. However, at the moment he threw the sword, he felt a cold hand press against the back of his neck. He felt his Oran soul tremble, and the life force inside him instantly left his body. After letting out a miserable scream, his body was mummified. However, at the moment he died, Ling Tianhou's sword energy inside his body suddenly erupted and collapsed along with his body. Wu Ma's eyes were completely red. After losing his treasured sword, he hated Wang Lin to the bone. Now that he had activated Ling Tianhou's sword energy, if he felt as much as a breeze, he would immediately release it. At this moment, the purple mist before him churned as if someone was rushing over. Wu Ma's eyes became ferocious, and he shouted, "Wang Lin, die!" He was just about to release Ling Tianhou's sword energy in his hand when his junior apprentice brother Shu Go's voice suddenly appeared. "Senior apprentice brother, it's me." Wu Ma was startled, and he withdrew his right hand. However, just as he was about to speak, a hand silently appeared from the mist on his right. A forefinger touched the spot between Wu Ma's eyebrows. Wu Ma's eyes bulged, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness, and he wanted to reactivate the sword energy he just withdrew, but there was no chance. After exactly 10 breaths of time, Zhou Yi forcibly took Wang Lin and charged out of the purple mist. "Unfortunately, there's still one sword," Wang Lin let out a sigh. From the 4 Lu sword sect disciples, he only managed to get 2 more rays of sword energy. Adding the one he had before, he now had 3. The 4 of them had been trapped in the purple mist for a century, so they were very impatient and felt despair to the point of collapse after Qianlong left. If it wasn't for those and various other reasons, even Wang Lin couldn't have taken the sword energies in just 10 breaths of time. Even so, one of them was still able to successfully activate the sword energy. Fortunately, Wang Lin was prepared, so he wasn't injured. If it was another location and conditions were different, Wang could only retreat when facing four Lou Sect disciples with Ling Tianhou's sword energy. He wasn't afraid of the four of them, but he was very cautious of the sword energies. Zhou Yi personally witnessed this, and his admiration for Wang Lin increased. Wang Lin acted boldly and decisively. If it was someone else, they would have only thought about escaping and wouldn't have considered anything else. He didn't know that compared to back when Wang Lin was at the Sea of Devils, Wang Lin took the chance when the dragon died at the graveyard to take its body away before it fell into the pit. Compared to that, this really wasn't much. The mist shrank like crazy. Right now, it wasn't even 1,000 feet wide. Outside the purple mist, Chen Long's expression was extremely gloomy. Ling Tianhou's sword energy was in his hand, emitting a harsh light. Countless mosquito beasts surrounded him and were currently fighting him. Greed, I want to see how you will explain this to my master in the future. Greed was standing in the distance and was surrounded by mosquito beasts. The mosquito beasts were extremely terabonic, and their eyes were filled with a fierce light. If it wasn't for the constant roars coming from inside the group, they would have already pounced, even if it was greed. Even after controlling the king beast, which allowed him to indirectly manipulate the herd, Greed still didn't dare to get too close to these mosquito beasts. These mosquito beasts' nature was too violent and couldn't be tamed at all. If he slightly let his guard down, he would suffer an attack. If there were just dozens, he wouldn't care. If there were hundreds, it still wouldn't be a big deal. Even if there were thousands, at most his expression would change. But there were tens of thousands of mosquito beasts here. As a result, how could his scalp not go numb? Even though he had control, he was still very cautious. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's appearance from the purple mist and stood on top of the celestial sword, it released powerful sword energy. Wang Lin's appearance immediately made Greed's eyes become cold. He sneered and sent out a command with his mind. A large group of the mosquito beasts immediately let out a roar and charged towards Wang Lin. Greed let out a cold snort. He didn't intend to immediately kill Wang Lin, but wanted to extract his origin soul to find Si-Tu Nan's whereabouts. When he saw Wang Lin outside the East Daman Sea for a second, he felt Si-Tu Nan's aura on Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at the mosquito beasts coming at him and revealed a strange expression. Just at this moment, an even sharper cry suddenly came from inside the herd that completely replaced the previous roar. At the same time, a purple figure rushed towards Wang Lin. This figure was Wang Lin's mosquito beast. Renegade Immortal, Chapter 646, Greed's Spell. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. This mosquito pierced through the group of its kind like a ray of purple light and let out a roar. It went straight toward Wang Lin. When it arrived next to Wang Lin, its huge mouth gently rubbed Wang Lin, and its eyes were filled with excitement. The group of mosquito beasts rushing toward Wang Lin all stopped. Although their eyes were still vicious, there was a flash of doubt in their eyes. The scene caused Greed to become completely dumbfounded. This even caused Chen Long's eyes to light up brightly. Greed's face was gloomy as his hand formed a seal, and he shouted, "7 magic needle, imprint." A sharp cry came from within the depths of the herd, and the large swarm of mosquitoes immediately opened a path. From the center of the herd, a giant mosquito with 7 silver needles stuck in its head slowly flew out. There was struggle within its red eyes. The mosquito beast stared at Greed and let out a roar. Greed let out another roar, and the silver needles on its head sank in 3 more inches. The mosquito's body trembled, and the struggle in its eyes became even stronger. However, its eyes immediately showed a trace of resolute as it let out a loud cry filled with death. Its gaze moved like lightning and landed on Wang Lin's mosquito beast. Wang Lin's mosquito was startled as it flapped its wings and flew away from Wang Lin. It went directly toward its companion and immediately arrived on the back of the giant mosquito. Its large mouth suddenly stabbed into the body of the giant mosquito. As it began to suck, the struggle in the giant mosquitoes disappeared and was replaced with a glimmer of relief. The suction was completed in almost an instant. As the giant mosquito withered, Wang Lin's mosquito gradually grew. Its body got larger, and the purple on it became more dense. Then an aura that could only be felt by their own kind spread out. This happened extremely fast. Wang Lin's mosquito beast suddenly raised its head and stared at Greed and let out a roar. All of the mosquito's gazes immediately fell on Greed and then immediately charged toward him. Greed's scalp went numb, his hand formed a seal, and the 7 silver needles immediately came out of the withered mosquito corpse and flew back to him. The silver needles formed a silver light screen next to him, and then he immediately charged off to the side. Wang Lin took a deep breath and backed up. His right forefinger suddenly pointed at Greed, and a finger of death shot out toward him. In the distance, all of the mosquitoes around Qianlong had left, and his eyes had become cold as well. Without hesitation, his right hand formed a seal, and the giant sword behind him flew out. A black dragon with intelligent eyes appeared and let out a roar. He shot a ray of sword energy directly at Greed. Although the two of them had never cooperated before, reaching this far in cultivation proved that they both had good insight. Their timing was great, and both of their attacks were in the way of Greed's path of retreat. Greed's pupils shrank. He knew that he must not be surrounded by the mosquito beasts, or else he would die for sure. He let out a cold snort. He had cultivated for tens of thousands of years and had faced scenes like this many times. He backed up while his right hand formed a seal and clawed at the wall, and he shouted, "Death Devourer, first style." This claw caused a lot of green gas to come out from the wall. There was simply too much green gas. The green gas gathered together and formed a green waterfall. The green waterfall was pulled out from the wall as Greed moved his right hand. His eyes glowed green as he threw the green waterfall behind him. The green gas suddenly shot out like a ray of light crossing the sky. Wang Lin's finger of death turned green after touching the green gas and collapsed immediately after. Qianlong's dragon sword spirit let out a roar when it touched the green gas. On impact, the dragon spirit immediately collapsed and the sword flew back to Qianlong. "You little juniors dared to provoke old man Greed." Greed let out a shout as he quickly moved. He was about to rush out of the mosquito beast's siege. If he was able to escape the siege, no one would be able to stop him if he wished to fight or leave. Qianlong shouted, "Wang Lin, we shouldn't hold back. Let's work together to kill this old thief. Otherwise, both of us will die." He spat out a mouthful of origin blood essence, and it fell on his sword. The sword began to tremble, and cracks appeared all over it, as if pieces of metal were flaking off as if the sword was shedding its skin. The pieces that fell off contained bloodsuck. They once again formed the black dragon and charged out with power several times stronger than before. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he touched the spot between his brow with his right hand. A large amount of slaughter energy came out and gathered on Wang Lin's fingertip. The dense strand of slaughter energy was smashed out after being flicked by Wang Lin. "Ling Tianhou's broken sword spirit and the all-seer's celestial slaughter art." Greed's eyes glowed brightly, but there was a hint of mockery in them. He retreated and said, "Although these 2 spells are powerful, your mastery over them is not complete. Before this old man's eyes, they are simply too weak." Greed slapped his bag of holding, and a small mountain flew out. After the mountain flew out, it immediately grew into a mountain several hundred feet tall and floated in the air. This mountain was covered in carvings of mysterious runes. As the mountain moved, the runes flashed and the mountain became very strange. Greed's right hand turned into a claw once more, and he placed his hand on the mountain and shouted, "Death Devourer, second style. Extract mountain's soul." The entire mountain trembled, and an ancient aura appeared from within the mountain. It was like the aura of an ancient cultivator who had cultivated for countless years. This was the mountain's soul. As Greed shouted, this aura was pulled out by him, and an illusion of the mountain appeared and was pulled by Greed. An immensely powerful aura immediately appeared. After the mountain's soul was extracted, it began to tremble, and countless cracks appeared. Eventually, the entire mountain collapsed into rubble and fell from the sky. However, the illusionary mountain soul was still in Greed's hand. "This old man's cultivation can't compare to old child Ling Tian or that old thief All-Seer, but this old man Greed's spells have no flaws. You juniors merely learned others' spells and really think they are your own." Greed's eyes were filled with mockery as his right hand pressed down. With a loud bang, the mountain soul descended. The black dragon formed by Chen Long's broken sword let out a whimper as the incredible pressure from the mountain soul pressed down. After a series of rumbles, the black dragon was trapped under the pressure of the mountain soul. Chen Long's expression turned pale. He coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes filled with shock. What is this spell?" Wang Lin's slaughter energy flew through the air, and the mountain soul seemed unable to stop it. The slaughter energy pierced through the mountain soul. Wang Lin's eyes turned cold, and he shouted, "Scatter!" The slaughter energy that pierced into the mountain soul scattered. It turned from 1 to 1,000,000. 1,000,000 strands of slaughter energy moved within the mountain soul. It was as if they wanted to rush out from the mountain soul and tear it into pieces. However, powerful celestial spiritual energy came out from the mountain soul, and in a blink of an eye, the strands of slaughter energy collapsed one by one. Wang Lin sucked in a breath of cold air. If it wasn't for the fact that he always kept one strand in his soul to allow him to endlessly recover his slaughter energy, he would have been greatly pained by the loss. There is even celestial spiritual energy within the mountain soul. This celestial energy doesn't look like it came from Greed. It seems to belong to the mountain itself. Wang Lin's expression sank. With the help of the mountain soul, Greed finally was able to escape the mosquito beast's siege. He laughed loudly. "Little juniors, do you know what mountain this is? This is a mountain from the celestial realm. I pulled it out tens of thousands of years ago and sealed it." Just at this moment, the constantly shrinking purple mist was about to finish. It shrank from 1,000 feet into 10 feet, forming a dense ball of purple mist. There was still no sound coming inside the ball of mist, but Wang Lin knew that there was one living person inside, a Dao Lo sword sect disciple. With a bang, the 10-foot ball of mist shrank again and was now 7 feet. A token gradually began to appear inside the mist. This token was made of the mist and was quickly condensing. There was a trace of greed in Greed's eyes. He was about to rush towards the token when the large mosquito herd behind him suddenly let out a fierce roar. The mosquito beasts charged out one by one like crazy, completely disregarding their own lives. Their speed was several times faster than before. Their sudden movement caused Greed's expression to immediately change. Wang Lin's mosquito in the herd let out a roar, and suddenly all the mosquitoes' bodies released red light. Those closest to Greed accusingly collapsed into large clouds of flesh and blood that gave off a red glow. They arrived directly next to Greed and then mysteriously formed back into mosquito beasts again. Not only did those mosquitoes use the spell, every mosquito beast did. They all collapsed and restored themselves in the next instant. They all did this in an instant and completely trapped Greed. The purple mist rapidly contracted, and the token inside became more solid. In an instant, the final step was complete. After all the mist dissipated, an ancient token giving off purple light floated in the air. There was golden light mixed in with the purple light. Wang Lin's and Qianlong's gazes fell on the token at this moment. Qianlong immediately charged towards the token. No one dared use teleportation near the exit. The pressure here was too great, so if anyone tried to teleport, they would be trapped in the void. Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and he flew out at the same time. His hand formed a seal, and the celestial spiritual energy inside his body surged. He was preparing the stop spell. "You juniors dare!" Just at this moment, an angry roar came from within the herd of mosquito beasts. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. As Qianlong rushed forth, Ling Tianhou's sword energy gathered in his hand. The sword energy circled around his hand, and then a pressure spread out. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. He had already noticed that there was something wrong with the ray of Ling Tianhou's sword energy that belonged to Qianlong. At the moment the sword energy appeared, Wang Lin immediately felt his heart tighten. This is Ling Tianhou's life sword energy. Very powerful. Joey's voice entered Wang Lin's mind. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he stopped moving. He no longer chased after the token and held back the celestial spell in his hand as he coldly looked at Qianlong. Qianlong was extremely flashy and suddenly appeared next to the token. His eyes were filled with joy. He didn't know what it was, but for it to be something even greed cared so much about, it had to be a rare treasure. However, just as he reached out toward the token, greed's angry roar came from within the mosquito herd. "Junior Qianlong, this old man will kill you! Death Devourer third style!" Greed's voice was like lightning. It seemed to turn solid as it went through the mosquito herd, passed by Wang Lin, and charged directly at Qianlong. Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and he immediately retreated a few steps. The roar charged out from the mosquito herd and began to take form. Suddenly, a crystal-clear small person appeared in the air. This person didn't look anything like Greed, but his body gave off Greed's aura. Second origin soul. Wang Lin sucked in a breath of air as he stared at the small person. Greed was so angry that his anger was enough to burn his heart. He was helpless, so he could only send out his second origin soul while his main body was trapped by the mosquito herd. The 7 needles rapidly rotated around him. They could guard him for a bit, but not for too long. These mosquitoes' bodies were extremely tough, especially their mouths, which were as hard as iron essence. If that was only the case, it wouldn't be too bad, but whenever a mosquito was killed, they would immediately collapse into a red cloud. The red cloud would retreat and instantly condense back into a mosquito beast. Although it would be weaker, it would once again fiercely pounce at him. After this small person appeared, he immediately turned into a ray of light. His hand formed a seal, and black lightning began to appear around his body. Then the lightning moved like meteors towards Qianlong. Qianlong's expression changed. If he didn't withdraw his right hand, he would be hit by the black lightning. However, everything would have been in vain if he did. "Gonna risk it." Qianlong clenched his teeth and threw out Ling Tianhou's sword energy. The sword energy flew through the air and shook the heavens and earth. Even the cliff of the abyss rumbled under the might of the sword energy. Endless gravel and soil fell from the cliff. The lightning bolts released by Greed's second origin soul touched the sword energy and collapsed one by one. Powerful force was scattered in all directions. The life seals appeared over Wang Lin's body as he backed up, but his eyes were bright like a torch. After releasing his master's sword energy, Qianlong seized the token without hesitation. His eyes were ecstatic. He immediately flew upwards, wanting to escape. Greed's second origin soul let out a roar and wanted to chase. However, Ling Tianhou's sword energy was simply too strong, and it even contained Qianlong's divine sense, so it was easily controlled. The sword energy repeatedly blocked Greed's second origin soul's path and constantly pushed it back. Greed's second origin soul didn't dare to touch the sword energy. He knew that his second origin soul would be seriously injured by it, so he could only wait until the sword energy dissipated. Trapped by the mosquito beasts, Greed's eyes revealed a hint of determination. His heart ached, but he immediately touched his bag of holding. He took out a finger-sized piece of sandalwood. The moment it appeared, it released a fragrance. This sandalwood looked very normal, as if it was something that belonged to the mortal world, but Greed's eyes were filled with sadness. "Child, you forced me to use a treasure of the celestial world, heaven confusion incense. This old man will definitely cut you into pieces." Greed clenched his teeth and raised his left hand. He immediately lit the incense, and a blue smoke began to rise from it. This smoke was extremely strange. When it spread out, although it was thin, it immediately formed a cloud. The mosquito beasts were all suddenly trapped in this mist, and at the same time, Greed rushed out from the mosquito herd. He stepped on the smoke and chased after Qianlong. "Senior Greed, fellow cultivator Wang Lin, I'll be taking this token. Many thanks," Qianlong laughed. He was already looking at the exit in the distance. Wang Lin sneered as he stared at Qianlong's figure in the distance. His eyes gave off a ghostly light, and he said to himself, "Stop." The power of the low-quality celestial spell that could seal the heavens and freeze the earth went forth. A mysterious force immediately filled the abyss. If there was a powerful cultivator here, they would see that the area was filled with invisible threads. These invisible threads immediately wrapped around Qianlong. Qianlong only felt his body stop, and even his origin soul stopped. Also, the celestial spiritual energy inside his body stopped, as if frozen solid. At this instant, he became completely motionless, and the token fell from his hand. Greed was extremely joyous as the smoke he released surrounded Qianlong. He charged directly at the token. Just at this moment, Wang Lin moved. Joey's celestial sword was under Wang Lin's feet, and they rushed out. The speed of the celestial sword was too fast that even Greed's expression changed. "Wang Lin, you are not qualified to rob treasures from this old man." Greed was very close to the token. It looked like he only needed to extend his hand to reach the token. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he softly said, "Stop." Greed paused for a moment, although he immediately returned to normal and all the threads that had wrapped around him broke. With the help of the celestial sword, Wang Lin immediately closed in. In front of Greed's bulging eyes, Wang Lin took the token and swept past Greed. "Wang Lin, you dare to steal this old man's things?" Greed's eyes were bloodshot as he roared and rushed out. Qianlong had already recovered, and his expression was gloomy. Surrounded by the smoke, his hand formed a seal. He wanted to break through, but the smoke blocked his path, and he couldn't escape. The three of them were very close to the exit in the Fire Demon country. Wang Lin was very close to the exit thanks to Zhou Yi's speed. At this moment, the sunlight from the outside could be seen. Greed almost went crazy. As he let out a roar, he slapped his bag of holding, and a giant furnace flew out. This furnace was about as big as a person and was completely black. There were countless beast-shaped runes on the furnace, and it gave off a desolate aura. Greed shouted, "Revert the universe! Reverse the heavens and earth!" The furnace shook, and a ray of black light shot out. The black light quickly covered the heavens and earth. At this moment, it was as if the heavens and earth had reversed positions. The heavens became the earth became the heavens. Wang Lin's, Qianlong's, and Greed's positions suddenly reversed. Originally, Wang Lin was in front, but now he was where Qianlong was, surrounded by the smoke. As for Qianlong, he appeared where Wang Lin was. He was startled for a moment and was scared out of his wits. Without a word, he charged toward the exit. He was afraid. He didn't expect this Greed to have such incredible magical treasures. This treasure was simply too strong. It could reverse the universe. At the moment he switched positions with Wang Lin, he felt a divine power. Compared to that divine power, he was simply too insignificant. This greed is indeed worthy of being someone from Master's generation. Although his cultivation level is far inferior to Master's, there must be something special about him if he caught Master's attention. He didn't know that greed never went anywhere without treasures. Over countless years, greed had obtained treasures to rival any celestial palace. However, a lot of the treasures he obtained were things he couldn't even use himself, and he was extremely cautious because he was afraid of others stealing from him. Whenever he felt like something was wrong, he would immediately run away. Greed breathed heavily and suddenly turned his head. He stared at Wang Lin, who was trapped in the smoke, and closed in with a grin. Wang Lin sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at the furnace. There was a mysterious light in his eyes. He recognized that furnace. Without hesitation, he put the token inside his bag of holding. The celestial sword under his feet hummed, and Zhou-Yi's divine sense entered his mind. What a powerful treasure! Wang Lin, keep yourself safe. Zhou-Yi's celestial sword flashed. An array of sword energy flew out. The sword energy surrounded the sword, and the celestial sword began to spin. The smoke surrounding them immediately began to swell. Then Zhou-Yi shouted, "Open!" With a bang, an opening appeared in the smoke. The celestial sword rushed out. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he rushed out as well. This person's cultivation is ordinary, but his treasures are mysterious. How did this person obtain so many magical treasures? As Zhou-Yi rushed out, his celestial sword stabbed toward Greed. Greed's eyes lit up brightly. He retreated and once again slapped his bag of holding. This action not only caused Zhou-Yi to pause, it even made Wang Lin's heart skip a beat. Wang Lin, this old man has to thank Situ Nan. If not for him, how could I have been forced to stay at the waste planet of Suzaku for 10,000 years? If it wasn't for those 10,000 years, I couldn't have understood a lot of these treasures I couldn't use before. As Greed raised his right hand, a screen appeared in his right hand. After throwing the screen, it immediately grew to 100 feet wide. There was an ink painting of a landscape with mountains on the screen. Mist filled the mountains, making it give off the aura of celestial world. This old man wasn't able to find the celestial realm's mountain and river painting, but I found an imprint of it on this screen. "Gather for me," as Greed shouted. A large suction force came from the screen. Zhou-Yi's figure appeared from the celestial sword. He had a serious expression, and his right hand pointed forward. Without any hesitation, he released one of the remaining 2 life sword energies. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy, and he immediately activated Ling Tianhou's sword energy inside his body. The sword energy opened a path through the pressure as he rushed down. Behind him, Greed's second origin soul, which was covered in countless lightning bolts, chased slowly after Wang Lin. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. With the sword energy making a path, Wang Lin used all of his speed and moved like a meteor toward the bottom. He didn't bother with Zhu Yi right now because although Greed had a lot of treasures, Zhu Yi wouldn't be defeated easily. What he needed to do now was open as much distance as possible to stall for time until Zhu Yi arrived. This Greed has too many treasures. I don't know how many more strange treasures he has in that bag of his. Even if Senior Zhu Yi wins, I'm afraid it will take some time. Wang Lin frowned. The sword energy continued to break the resistance as he rushed downward. Behind him, Greed's second origin soul chased closely after. The second origin soul was like a small person made of crystal. Black lightning bolts surrounded the small person. The resistance coming from below was broken by the balls of lightning. His eyes glowed as he stared at Wang Lin. His right hand formed a seal and slapped his palm down. 9 of the balls of lightning around him immediately lined up like a string of beads. It pierced through the resistance like a fierce arrow and flew directly at Wang Lin. Thunder! Wang Lin's head turned around and slapped his bag of holding. The god-slaying war chariot immediately flew out. It quickly formed a ball of lightning in the air. The ball quickly expanded and turned into a mighty thunder beast. The thunder beast was a celestial thunder beast. After it appeared, it snorted out 2 strands of green gas. Its eyes contained lightning. Under its gaze, not only did the 9 balls of thunder not slow down, they flew even faster. The thunder beast opened its mouth and let out a roar. The 9 balls of thunder suddenly trembled, and then, instead of going to Wang Lin, they flew toward the thunder beast and were instantly swallowed. Greed's second origin soul's eyes immediately lit up. He moved his body, and all the black thunder around him rained down on Wang Lin and the thunder beast. At the same time, the second origin soul slapped his forehead. A hammer covered in lightning immediately appeared. He grabbed the hammer and slammed it down. Rumble, rumble, rumble! The thunderous roar of thunder exploded forth, and lightning shot out from the hammer. The lightning moved like a dragon that was clawing toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he slapped his bag of holding, taking out the celestial brush. He took a deep breath and immediately drew in front of him. A 5-stroke symbol suddenly appeared, and he inserted 5 portions of his origin soul into it. The golden symbol released a blinding light. After it appeared, it shone like the sun. At the moment the dragon arrived, the 2 sides collided in the air. A loud bang echoed in the abyss, causing a lot of rocks to fall from the cliff. Those rocks were pushed upward by the resistance force. For this instant, even the resistance force coming from below slowed for a moment. The symbol split into 5 pieces of incense and returned to Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body staggered and his face became pale. Without pause, he flew down again. The lightning dragon didn't change at all, but it stayed in the air completely motionless. When the resistance force pushed against it, countless cracks appeared on it, and it collapsed. As for the thunder beast, when the balls of thunder arrived, it opened its mouth and happily ate 1 ball of thunder every time it opened its mouth. Even the collapsing lightning dragon was devoured by the thunder beast as it passed by. Then it looked at Greed's second origin soul with a provoking gaze before following Wang Lin. Greed's second origin soul's eyes were filled with cold intent, and he said, "Damned beast." He waved the thunder hammer in his hand, and it began to glow red. He quickly chased after Wang Lin, as the red light on the hammer became stronger and stronger. Finally, the hammer started releasing a blood-colored light. As Wang Lin was escaping, he suddenly felt powerful thunder behind him, causing his even hair to tingle. The thunder beast also became serious. It looked back and let out low growls. What spirit exactly is Greed's second origin soul? Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. The resistance was getting stronger, but Ling Tianhou's sword energy was very strong. Wang Lin wasn't affected at all with the sword energy opening the path. He moved like lightning as he rushed downward. Greed's second origin soul chased closely after Wang Lin. The distance constantly changed as they charged toward the bottom. But the closer they got to the bottom, the stronger the resistance became. In the end, their speed slowed. Greed's second origin soul slowly said, "Celestial destroying thunder." He waved the hammer in his hand, and the red light on the hammer flew out as a ray of lightning. It didn't charge toward Wang Lin or the thunder beast, but instead drilled into the cliff of the abyss. Wang Lin's pupils suddenly shrank, and he felt a sense of crisis. At this moment, he grabbed the thunder beast without any hesitation and put it back into his bag. All of the life seals gathered on his body, and at the same time, he took out a large amount of blood jades. He crushed them all. These jades came from Yao Hishui. Now that he crushed them, the thick blood-colored light immediately surrounded him, forming layers and layers of protection. Almost at the moment Wang Lin finished all of this, a flash of red light came from the side of the cliff. Red dots suddenly appeared on the cliff's surface. These dots became larger and faster at the same time. Then the dots suddenly burst out from the wall and formed a net of red lightning. The red lightning around Wang Lin immediately pierced through the shield of bloodlight, creating loud bangs. Some even reached Wang Lin and were stopped by the life seals. Wang Lin's expression became even gloomier. He slapped his bag of holding, and the three swords appeared. After infusing Ling Tianhou's sword energy, Wang Lin pointed at Greed's second origin soul, and the swords charged toward Greed's second origin soul. Since you want to fight, let's fight. Wang Lin no longer tried to escape. Although this was very close to the abyss, the resistance here was simply too big, so it would be difficult to pass. Adding on how vicious the second origin soul was, Wang Lin was angered. The three swords formed a formation and charged out. The mouse, pig, and sheep evil spirits emerged and fused with Ling Tianhou's sword energy. They pierced through the lightning net and gave off thick sword energy as they stabbed toward Greed's second origin soul. Greed's second origin soul shined brightly, and its eyes became serious. He slammed the hammer in the air, and then lightning dragons appeared and started circling around him. When the three swords arrived, the three evil spirits flew out and began fighting with the lightning dragons. The three swords circled around and suddenly stabbed forth. However, they were blocked by the lightning dragons and weren't able to stab into the second origin soul. If Ling Tianhou's sword energy wasn't there, Greed's second origin soul wouldn't care so much. However, the sword energies inside the swords made him very cautious, as he couldn't allow the sword energies to enter his body. He decided to constantly use the lightning dragons to weaken the sword energies. A mark gradually appeared between the eyebrows of Greed's second origin soul as he waved the thunderhammer. This mark was very deep and flashed slowly. Wang Lin was covered by the bloodlight. Without Ling Tianhou's sword energy, he could feel the powerful resistance force below him. He flew upward, borrowing the resistance force from the tide abyss. He moved at a speed several times faster than before as he flew through the lightning net and charged straight at the second origin soul. The majority of the bloodlight around him had already dissipated. He had to constantly crush blood jades to continue protecting himself. If there was no bloodlight to act as a shield, he would be facing a life and death trial inside this lightning net, even if he used 1,000,000 life seals. Back then, the gray-robed all-seer said that the defense of the life seals was extremely powerful, and this is true when facing ordinary spells. However, when facing someone stronger than me, it simply won't be enough. Either the celestial slaughter art is imperfect, or the gray-robed all-seer deceived me. He immediately saw the mark between Greed's second origin soul's eyebrows. That is the seal Greed uses to control the second origin soul. I need to smash it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The lightning net was too dense, and it closed in as he moved, making the net even more powerful. However, at this moment, Greed's second origin soul's eyes became cold, and the lightning net around Wang Lin immediately contracted. Countless rays of lightning began to gather toward Wang Lin. At this moment, Wang Lin gave up on his defense. His eyes became red, and he shouted, "Very well. Either I kill you, or I die today." The three swords moved even faster. It was as if they felt Wang Lin's killing intent. Ling Tianhou's sword energy spread out from the three swords. "Stop!" A loud roar came from Wang Lin. At this moment, the celestial spell Stop was used by Wang Lin at full power. Greed's second origin soul's arms suddenly paused. Wang Lin's eyes glowed brightly, and he shouted, "Kill." In an instant, the three swords' auras reached their peak and moved through the lightning dragons. All three swords stabbed into Greed's second origin soul and pierced his body. Ling Tianhou's sword energy charged into Greed's second origin soul without any hesitation and began to rampage inside his spirit body. Greed's second origin soul's body trembled, and the seal between his eyebrows flickered like crazy. The seal spread all over his body, trying to resist this destructive force. At this moment, the lightning net contracting toward Wang Lin collapsed. Wang Lin rushed out and slapped his bag of holding. The devilish armor immediately appeared over his body. The devilish energy spread out, and he suddenly raised his finger. The demonic finger was used, and the celestial spiritual energy inside his body transformed. At the same time, Wang Lin pointed again, and the underworld finger was used. The moment the underworld finger appeared, the underworld river appeared and charged out along with the underworld finger. Wang Lin closed in with the help of the two spells. His speed increased with the help of the resistance force. Wang Lin arrived next to Greed's second origin soul and pressed the two spells into him. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted, "Explode for me." The seal between Greed's second origin soul flashed violently, trying to return back to normal. However, Wang Lin's two spells landed another fatal blow, so the seal collapsed. Along with the seal, the body of Greed's second origin soul began to collapse. Countless cracks appeared on its crystal body. But just at this moment, Wang Lin's expression changed. He recalled the three swords and quickly retreated. A desolate aura spread out like crazy from the cracks of the second origin soul, and there was an unimaginable aura leaking out from the cracks. It was the aura of a beast. The three evil spirits on the three swords immediately trembled. At the abyss exit, Greed, who was fighting with Zhou Yi, trembled violently and coughed out a mouthful of blood. He looked below him with an aghast expression. This Greed's second origin soul exploded with a bang, but at the moment it collapsed, a green light shot out from between its eyebrows. A thick, desolate aura spread out from the green light. The moment the green light appeared, it turned into a green dragon. Lightning circulated all over this dragon. It was extremely terrifying. This was an ancient thunder dragon, and it was very famous. Back then, when Greed was only the Foundationist stage, he fell down a cliff and found a baby thunder dragon. He carefully hid it, and when he encountered danger, the aura from the thunder dragon would protect its master. Later, Greed brought a wasted magical treasure in an ordinary city. However, after some research, it turned out that this treasure wasn't a waste, but an ancient magical devil. Greed used it to brand and seal the thunder dragon so that it could never awaken and remain under his control. It wasn't until he reached the ascendant stage that he refined it into his second origin soul. However, he didn't dare to stimulate it too much, lest it awaken and escape from his control. This green dragon opened its eyes and let out a real dragon roar. At this moment, the sky changed color and the clouds gathered. Even the resistance from the tide abyss was pushed away. Wang Lin revealed a bitter smile. Without any hesitation, he borrowed the resistance force to push himself back up and stayed far away from this green dragon. Greed, greed. This person is really full of treasures. Even his second origin soul is a dragon. The furnace that Tusi refined back then also landed in his hands. His calibration also landed in his hands. And he could be considered someone who has the heaven's own luck. Wang Lin bitterly smiled. He didn't know that back then, when Greed was only 8 and hadn't even started cultivating, he found a 500-year-old Solomon seal while playing. He took it home and ate it after breaking it. Not only was he not killed by the surge of energy inside it, but it laid his foundation as a cultivator. As the green dragon let out a roar, its cold eyes swept the area and landed on Wang Lin. The hatred from before was still there. Although it had just awakened, it still remembered what happened. Its body turned into a ray of green light and charged directly at Wang Lin. After charging into the bottom of the abyss, Wang Lin saw the bottomless pit at the center. Suction force was coming from the hole, and it was covered in mist. The dragon's roar and the fishy smell from its mouth came from behind him. Wang Lin let out a bitter smile as he stared at the bottomless pit. He clenched his teeth and suddenly jumped into the pit. At this moment, the green dragon rushed over while roaring. The dragon had just awakened, so its mind was still in a state of chaos. It was completely acting on instinct, and when it saw Wang Lin jump into the pit, it also rushed in without any hesitation. The suction force here is very different from outside. It's much stronger. This wasn't Wang Lin's first time in here, so he knew this. After jumping into the pit, he activated the celestial spiritual energy inside his body and stayed close to the side of the cleft.